My name is Sarah, and I described about me. This is my second video to YouTube. I described about me in my first video, and I also said what I was going to be talking about in my next video, which is this book. Teach your child to read in 100 easy lessons. And there's the author. I'll go ahead and put that in the comment below so you can see the book and who the author is. So if you want to order it, you can. Or if you already have it, yay! I'm going to go ahead and talk about that. And I watch videos on YouTube about this book, but they're always talking about the lessons inside, or they're talking about how the book came to be, the statistics about the book. But I actually want to talk about the introduction. It's about 30 pages long, and it's really not even that long because they have their table of contents, the title of the book, their alphabet, so it's about 20 pages. So we're going to go ahead and go over that, but first I'm going to go ahead and start in prayer, like I always going to do in every single video. Thank you, Jesus, for this day, God. We praise you and we lift you up, God, and we thank you for everything we have. We thank you for modern day technology so we can reach out to one another for advice and guidance through you, God. And bless us as we take this journey on this new book. And bless all the homeschool mommies, public school mommies, stay-at-home mommies, work mommies, all the type of mommies of the world, because we know that that is a big job to take on. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. So, we're going to go ahead and get started. Teach your child to read in 100 easy lessons. Okay, so the first page, well, it's not really the first. They start off at like page 7, and it just started. So it's called the introduction, and that goes on for about a page. I'm just going to read the main point that I took from the whole page and a half that I read, and this was it. The program bears almost nothing in common with the way students are taught in most of America's public schools, but DISTAR works. It constantly has delivered with other programs, usually just promise. This is not an expensive book. This is about, on the back of the book it says $24. So it's the best $24 you'll ever spend. I actually got mine on clearance for $10 off of Amazon Prime. So that's that. And I think it's the least expensive and the most I'm lost for words. Sorry guys, I'm doing this. It works the best. It has the best statistics. I'm saying that right. So every kid who does this book, they've only met like a handful out of the hundreds that have done this book, thousands who have succeeded at this book, and usually it's not even on the kids, it's on the parents, because they give you a certain way how to do the book and what to do and how to do it. So if you don't go by that, your children will not learn, or your child will not learn. So just make sure you follow the instructions, and that's kind of why we're doing the introduction here. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my next part. So page 9, Parent's Guide. They have the first section, which is the complex skill of reading. And this is just something I want to point out real quick. The following are the 4 most important points about an effective sequence for teaching reading. Number 1, the beginning exercises are simple and do not resemble ladder exercise. So they're very easy when you first start off. As you'll see, I'm going to post a video of me and my daughter doing lesson 1, and it is very simple. The first 2 letters, I don't get why they do them, but they know why they do them, and I've only looked over the first 3 lessons, because they say to familiarize yourself with the lessons coming up so you don't have to pause and do with your child and pausing, because you just want to kind of flow through the lesson plan, because you're only supposed to go for about 20 minutes. But you want to just go ahead so you're nice and flowy during the lesson. So that's that, number 1. Number 2, the program provides teaching for every single skill that the child is expected to use when performing even the simplest reading exercises. So they go from reading, the simple things, they go from little things to big things. Everything they learn in this book, they will use. They have nothing in here that is not going to help the child or help the child learn to read. So everything they have in this book, 100 lessons, is very useful. So that's that. Number 3, the exercises change form slowly. And the changes are relatively small so that the exercises are always relatively easy for the child. I mean, yes, in the first lesson, coming to the end, my daughter was like, I'm done. I don't want to go on. But it's very simple. It's very simple for you, very simple for the child. It's just a simple lesson plan, and as long as you just go by the rules, it should not end in tears. Mine almost did, but I am just gotta have a lot of patience with this book and just go by what it tells you to do. Number 4, at every step, the program provides for very clear communications with the child. So it's very clear on what you should do and what you should not do. We'll get into that a little bit more. The next point is the reading program. You can go ahead and read that. Research involving DISTAR. They have all the things about the kids who tried it, who failed, who succeeded. Most of them succeeded. So, communicate. The next point is communicating clearly with the child. And I'm just going to give you an example of what they have. And we're on page 10 now. Let's say that we teach a child to look at the first letter of words and identify those words, an activity common in poor reading programs. We might begin by presenting words that are easy to distinguish by looking at the first letter. Here's a possible list of such words, and they give you some words: he, go, fat, run, and with. So they go on to tell you that if you familiarize your child with letters, what they begin with, then they'll read the same. Any word that starts with that letter, they'll read as the word that you just taught them. Like if they read he, and they know that he starts with H, they'll look at like here or him, and they'll automatically be like, all right, that says he because it starts with H. So that's something they do go to this book. I think that's why they start with the 2 letters that they start with. So that's that. And now on page 11, towards the bottom of the page, in the first column, it goes on to tell you if the teacher always talks about the picture before reading the word, and if the word is always predictable by referring to the picture, the child may reasonably assume that, point number 1, you read words by referring to a picture. Number 2, you must understand the word that is to be decoded before you can read it. So that's one point that I liked. The next point they make, the next bulletin thing, making teaching easier. And they go on to about stuff that makes you easier on you, on your life. So I would read that. I would definitely take time to read that. And then the next point is why the funny print. Why do they have the weird alphabet they have? And this is their weird alphabet. And it goes on to tell you why they have that weird alphabet. And that's definitely something I would read. I highlighted some points, but I decided I'm not going to go over them because it just can get a little confusing if you're not reading it for yourself. So just go ahead and go over that. I definitely, like I said, we're going over the introduction, and I would definitely read all these pages because I was about to start the book, and I'm glad I did read all the pages. I was very glad that I did do that. It made the first lesson a whole lot easier on me. Then they go on to teaching first things first, what you should do. It's not that they just write all this in the introduction. They tell you each and every lesson what to do and what you should do, and they give you an overview at the very beginning of the lesson. So this is just to familiarize yourself with what's going to come up and what you're going to go ahead and be exposed to. But it's just something good for you to know, especially if you have no experience in teaching like me. I have no experience in teaching besides me homeschooling my child, and this is my first year doing so. So I hope that all goes well. Then they have the irregulars and comprehension. They have the bullet point that says getting ready. And they tell you what to do to go ahead and get ready for your lessons. And it says, I'm just going to read the very beginning. Before you start teaching your child, you should do 4 things. Number 1, learn the sounds that are introduced in the program, particularly the first 10 for the first handful of lessons, so you can go ahead and familiarize yourself with that. Make up a teaching schedule. Practice some corrections, so when your child does do something that is not sounding out the letter or the sound right, you know how to handle it instead of going off the bin. So that's something I did also, something I'm still continuously going over how I should correct my daughter when it comes up to it. And the last thing is practicing presenting the first couple of lessons in the programs. So I literally just sat in, when my kids were all taking naps, I literally just familiarized myself with lesson 1 and lesson 2 and lesson 3. So when I comes around, I have the idea like I was saying before, so the whole lesson just flows smoothly. And I'm glad I did that. Here's the pronunciation guide. So that just shows you if you have the book, you have that already. So yeah, I just went ahead and made a few copies for myself to put in my folder and to put in my daughter's folder. Even though this really isn't for your child, this is for you. So you pronunciate the words correctly while you're doing the lesson. Because if you pronunciate them correctly as you're going through the lessons, so will your daughter or your son or the child that you are teaching this book to. So that is a very important key. Make sure you read that. Now on page 18, they go over a few pronunciation of the following sounds. Like I'll give you the first example that they say R. Do not say for this symbol, or the child will have a lot of trouble reading words like run. The child will try to call the word run. Use the sound that is at the end of the word bar. It is a single sound that can be held. And they go on for a few examples, but again, the pronunciation guide helps a lot with that. Then it goes on, the next bulletin point is to say words slowly. Always remember to just say the words slowly as you're doing the lesson plan. And on page 19, this is what they do. They go ahead and show you an example of what you should do. If you have the book, you already know, or if you're already on like lesson 40, you already know. So you're supposed to start here, and then as you move quickly. You hold for a second, and then you move quickly, hold for a second, and then move quickly. So a second might not seem long, but when you're holding out a sound, it is kind of long. So I'll go ahead and do it. Me. So that wasn't even a whole second. You're supposed to do it longer. So you get the gist. And then here's one. You can't really hold out the T, so I tell you to just move. At. To just do it very sharp. That's why they have that weird looking T. And if you do this right, your kids will automatically know that. And then once they start reading books, they won't even be looking for these symbols. They'll just know how to read. So that is that. So the next page, page 20, goes on. They give you another example, the word can. And then they go on to the next bulletin that says, no skipping allowed. They go on for a few paragraphs saying, do not skip. It is very important to not go from one lesson and skip just a couple of lessons. It's very important. Every lesson you do is very important for your child to learn. Okay? Then they go on to reinforcement and corrections. How to reinforce your child if they do good, and how to correct them when they do not. And they have another bulletin that says correction. So obviously this is a very key point. I did it with my daughter this morning when we did when we went over lesson 1 the first time. We kind of almost came to tears, and then we went over it around dinner time when my husband got home, and we did a lot better. I praised her and I act surprised, and children love that when you act surprised. When they don't get something, I kept telling her, oh, you're not going to be able to do this. You wasn't able to do it this morning, in a nice way. And she was so proud of herself. She was so excited. Even after she bounced to her room, and she was so happy she did it. So yeah, that's that. And then they have additional activities. They have the writing skills. I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing that. I have my own writing program, so we'll see. In the schedule, then they have the sound. This is if you're going to do the writing part, the sound writing chart on how to write all the sounds. It goes on for 2 pages. And then you're ready for lesson 1. So that's just the introduction of the book. That is just a key points from page 1 to page 27. So that's that. And then you're ready for lesson 1. I think it's very important, again, to read this introduction before you start this book. It will be very helpful to you and helpful to your child. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll be posting about the first lesson that me and my daughter did today. And I hope you get something from it. Bye. God bless.